We live in an age obsessed with happiness. You see it everywhere, on magazine covers, in social media captions, in motivational videos that tell you to choose joy. It's the ultimate currency of modern life, the sign that you've made it, that you're doing something right, that your life has the meaning. But beneath the smile filters and positive affirmations, there's a quiet truth most people never talk about. You can have too much of a good thing. You can become addicted, not to drugs or alcohol, but to happiness itself. It sounds strange. How can you be addicted to something so pure, so harmless, so universally desired? But the science and the psychology suggest otherwise. Because what if, in our endless chase to feel good, we've lost the ability to feel anything at all? Today on the Mind Metrics, we're exploring the strange, scientific, and deeply human question. Can you be addicted to happiness? The science of happiness, chemical symphony in the brain. When we feel joy, real joy, our brains light up like cities at night. Tiny messengers called neurotransmitters rush between billions of neurons, creating what we experience as happiness. But this feeling good isn't random. It's a delicate orchestration of chemistry. Dopamine fuels anticipation. It's the thrill of the chase, the reward chemical. Serotonin brings calm, balance, and emotional stability. Oxytocin connects us, the warmth you feel when hugging someone you love. Endorphins dull pain and boost euphoria, the runner's high that follows physical exertion. This biological cocktail evolved for survival. When our ancestors found food, bonded socially, or achieved success in the tribe, their brains rewarded them, motivating them to repeat those behaviors. The problem is that the world has changed faster than our biology. The same brain that once rewarded hunting and connection now floods with dopamine from notifications, caffeine, compliments, and content. We haven't just hacked our happiness system, we've overloaded it. The dopamine trap, why pleasure never lasts. Imagine dopamine as a currency of desire. Every time you feel pleasure, you spend a little and your brain adjusts its expectations. When you get a new phone, your dopamine spikes. 2 weeks later, it's just another object in your hand. When you fall in love, you're euphoric. A year later, routine settles in and the high fades. This is the principle of hedonic adaptation, our brain's way of keeping balance. No matter how big the reward, we always return to baseline. But in a culture built on consumption, we don't like baseline. We mistake stimulation for happiness, and when the high fades, we go looking for more. More entertainment, more likes, more travel, more self-improvement. And so we enter the dopamine loop, a treadmill that never ends, where every burst of happiness feels shorter and weaker than the one before. In this way, the modern world doesn't just make us comfortable, it keeps us constantly craving. When happiness becomes a drug. Addiction isn't about what you use, it's about how it uses you. And the brain treats dopamine highs from pleasure just like it treats drugs. Every surge triggers the same neural pathways as a hit of cocaine or sugar. Over time, those pathways strengthen, the receptors dull, and you need more to feel less. It's not just theory. fMRI brain scans of people hooked on social media, gambling, or even compulsive goal-chasing show identical patterns to drug users. The addiction isn't to the outcome, it's to the anticipation. You're not addicted to love. You're addicted to the rush of falling in love. You're not addicted to success. You're addicted to the feeling of getting there. You're not addicted to happiness. You're addicted to chasing it. That's why people who seem to have it all, wealth, fame, freedom, often spiral into emptiness. Because the more they feed the system, the less it responds. Pleasure becomes pressure. Happiness becomes hunger. The happiness industry, selling bliss. There's another side to this addiction, one that profits from it. Globally, the happiness industry is worth over $11 billion a year. There are apps to track your joy, retreats to fix your soul, and influencers selling you serenity in 60 seconds or less. The message is everywhere. You should be happy. Not sometimes, always. But that expectation is toxic. Because the moment you believe you're supposed to be happy all the time, Every normal emotion, sadness, anger, frustration, starts to feel like failure. And so you hide it, you pretend, you scroll, you curate your life into a highlight reel that even you don't believe anymore. This is the phenomenon psychologists call toxic positivity, when happiness becomes a performance instead of an experience. The result? A society smiling on the surface and silently drowning underneath. The neurology of numbness. The brain's reward system is delicate. It's designed for contrast. Pleasure and pain balance each other like light and shadow. When you constantly push for one, the other grows louder. Too much pleasure, and the brain counteracts with dopamine downregulation. It literally reduces the number of receptors that respond to joy. That's why overstimulation, whether from substances, screens, or self-improvement obsession, leads to emotional dullness. Colors fade, music feels flat, life loses its edge. You start needing bigger thrills just to feel normal. In neuroscience, this is known as anhedonia, the inability to experience pleasure. It's not depression exactly, it's emptiness. And it's what happens when happiness becomes compulsory. The illusion of control. One of humanity's deepest delusions is that we can control happiness. We build formulas for it. Workout plus meditation plus gratitude journal equals joy. We turn it into spreadsheets and algorithms. We think, if I can just optimize my life enough, I'll finally feel fulfilled. But emotions don't obey logic. They rise and fall like tides, and trying to trap them is like trying to hold sunlight in your hands. Happiness was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to be experienced, not possessed. And yet the harder we cling to it, the faster it slips away. The role of suffering, why pain is necessary. Every ancient philosophy, from Stoicism to Buddhism, teaches the same paradox. You cannot truly know happiness until you've faced suffering. Pain gives happiness context. Loss gives love meaning. Death gives life urgency. Without the lows, the highs collapse into flat lines. In Buddhist thought, craving tanha is the root of all suffering. Not desire itself, but attachment to desire. The belief that joy is something you can own. The Stoics echoed this with amor fati, the love of one's fate. Not seeking constant pleasure, but embracing reality as it is, pleasure and pain alike. In a strange way, the cure for happiness addiction isn't more joy. It's acceptance. The willingness to feel everything. The culture of comparison. There's another ingredient fueling our addiction: comparison. For thousands of years, we only compared ourselves to our neighbors. Now, thanks to technology, we compare ourselves to millions. Every scroll through social media floods us with images of people smiling, achieving, celebrating. Our brains interpret it as data. Everyone else is happier, more successful, more fulfilled. It triggers dopamine envy, a feedback loop of inadequacy. We chase harder, feel worse, and repeat. It's ironic the most connected generation in history is also the loneliest. Because we've confused validation with connection and visibility with meaning. The pursuit of happiness has become a race where no one remembers the finish line. The psychology of withdrawal. When someone stops chasing external happiness, the first feeling they encounter isn't peace, it's withdrawal. Stillness feels uncomfortable. Silence feels wrong. You start to realize how much of your identity was tied to the chase. Psychologists call this emotional withdrawal. The void left when dopamine drops and the real work of balance begins. It's in that space that true happiness starts to grow, not from euphoria, but from equilibrium. Meditation, deep rest, time in nature, these practices don't generate artificial highs. They recalibrate the nervous system to remember what contentment feels like. Happiness isn't the fireworks, it's the quiet after, the philosophy of enough. At some point in life, every human being faces the question, when will it be enough? Enough success, enough love, enough joy. Our ancestors had rituals to mark satisfaction, harvest feasts, seasonal celebrations, times to pause and say, this is good. We've lost that ritual. Modern happiness addiction thrives on incompleteness. the sense that something vital is always missing, that there's always another level. But the secret of contentment lies in enoughness, not settling, but appreciating. Not in what's next, but in what's now. The Biology of Balance, How to Reset. If happiness addiction rewires your brain, can it be reversed? Yes, through balance. Neuroscientists studying dopamine addiction have found that just 2 weeks of dopamine fasting, reducing overstimulation, can reset reward sensitivity. That means less phone scrolling, more sleep, real human connection, periods of silence or boredom. When you remove constant highs, the lows stop feeling catastrophic, and the middle becomes meaningful again. You start to rediscover small joys, the warmth of sunlight, the taste of food, the rhythm of breathing. Your brain remembers what natural happiness feels like, not fireworks, but firelight. Gentle, sustainable, real. The human paradox, why we keep chasing. Here's the irony, our tendency to chase happiness is exactly what makes us human. It's the same drive that made us leave the caves, cross oceans, and build civilizations. Dissatisfaction is our evolutionary fuel. Without it, there would be no progress, no art, no invention. So the goal isn't to extinguish the chase, it's to understand it. To recognize that happiness isn't a reward for living the right life. It is life, messy, imperfect, and fleeting. The secret isn't constant joy, it's constant curiosity. So, can you be addicted to happiness? Yes. If you treat it as a drug, something to consume, collect, or control. But real happiness isn't about the feeling itself. It's about awareness. It's being present enough to notice the brief moments, the laughter that fades, the tears that teach, the silence that soothes. Because in the end, happiness was never meant to last forever. It was meant to remind you that you're alive. So maybe the question isn't, how can I be happy? Maybe it's, how can I feel everything and still be okay? That's not addiction, that's freedom. Thanks for watching the Mind Metrics. If this video made you think differently about happiness, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And tell us in the comments, what's one moment of real happiness you've had lately? Not perfect, not staged, just real. Because in the end, happiness isn't something we chase, it's something we notice. Stay curious.